Hello and welcome to another video tutorial here on understanding body language, liars, cheats and happy feet. Hope everyone's okay and having a good Thursday, and I hope you've all done your Christmas shopping by now. And just for the record, there's our Christmas tree which we put up the other day, so we're getting into the festive spirit, me and the boss. But anyway, so the video I got for you today is on Jimmy Kimmel Live, and it's the X Factor judges from America. So what we're going to do, we're going to run through a segment of this video, and we're going to decode some of the non-verbal behaviour on display. So without further ado, let's get this video up and running, and let's see what we can spot.
Our first guest tonight represents the most formidable assembly of...
So for those who don't know, that is Jimmy Kimmel.
Mentors and assessors of talent in television today. You can hear them talking backstage. You can watch them on the X Factor at 8 o'clock Wednesdays and Thursdays on Fox. Please welcome Simon Cowell, Paula Abdul, Nicole Scherzinger.
So here come the cavalry. So what's interesting to note straight away is that little gesture there. Let's just rewind that. Now, don't forget that the X Factor is, a Simon Cowell production, and obviously he is the boss. Note how he ushers his troops out first before he comes out.
At 8 o'clock Wednesdays and Thursdays
Let's watch that back.
Please welcome Simon Cowell, Paula Abdul, Nicole Scherzinger,
So here we go. So watch this now. Okay, so Simon is the puppet master there. He's marshalling the troops, and now he comes last. So obviously we all have the embraces with Jimmy. Acknowledge the crowd, which is good. The crowd are pumped. So an excellent little bit of chivalry there by LA, who's allowing Paula to sit down. Let's watch that again. Okay, if you just scoot back just ever so slightly, we can see here that LA goes to sit down, but he realises it's quite rude to sit down first. If you're a guy, you should always let the woman sit down first. He knows this, he lets her sit down, and there you go, and they all take their seated positions. Okay, so in this respect here, that's not too bad, because we've got boy, girl, which is a pretty good seated position. You would never have Simon Cowell on the end because he's the boss, so the vast majority of this interview is going to be directed at Simon Cowell, as this is his show, so that's why he's sat there. So the first thing I noticed throughout this video is one of them is showing clear signs of discomfort and stress. So let's see if we can spot that one person who is leaking out stress.
What are you guys talking about back there? Because we can all hear you kind of out here. Oh, I just said to LA because he hasn't done many of these shows before. Is it the worst?
Okay, so one person is doing something that none of us are doing.
I feel like in a way you've done that already.
And it's Nicole. So let's just scoot back here. Okay, so they all sit down. So Nicole takes her seated leg position, switches it, and look at her feet.
Oh, I just said to LA because he hasn't done many of these shows.
Okay, her feet are going wild. And this is a massive indicator of stress and being uncomfortable because everyone else has taken their positions and is now comfortable. However, Nicole is finding it difficult to achieve comfort.
Very angry last week as I was watching the show, and I watched the
So her feet are indicating and giving a lot away about her nervous energy and nervous stress. And that further manifests by the way she bobs about in the chair. Everybody else here has got a relatively relaxed position, except Nicole, who can't seem to get comfortable. Now that is either because of she's feeling quite stressed, or the dress she's wearing is not allowing her to become comfortable in that position.
A young 13-year-old, very sweet girl.
However, that would not necessarily manifest with this foot behaviour. Now, Simon Cowell's body language is very significant because his baseline position for most of his interviews is arms forward, crossed in a very defensive manner. However, that is Simon Cowell's natural body language. He often sits like that. Again, it's perceived to be very defensive and negative, so I'd advise people not to assume this kind of seated position or standing position or assume this kind of behaviour when you're interacting with people. But it works for Simon.
And LA is mentoring a guy named Marcus, who's very talented,
so,
but not even in the same ballpark.
So what they're talking about here is the eviction of a girl called Rachel, which we'll come to shortly. But again, we can still see the signs of stress leaking out from Nicole because she's bobbing about finding it very difficult to achieve comfort.
It comes time to judge. Not only I believe it, I concocted this all myself. I had these feelings. Comes time for judging, and they go to L.A., and he says, I'm a man of principle. Now, to me, a man of principle would pick the person he thought was the better singer. L.A. picks his own guy, Marcus.
Okay, so we're getting to the crunch now. So Nicole is still bobbing these feet about, still leaking out stress. And we can see here by that little gesture she makes at the top of the thigh, okay, now this is called a lint pick. Is when we see often imaginary pieces of lint or cotton on our things and we start taking them off and picking them off. It's a fine example of stress here, and we can see that here from Nicole when she starts playing here. There you go.
And then Nicole, who I think...
Okay, so these are classic indicators of stress because we're seeing clusters of like movement. We're seeing her bobbing about in the chair, finding it difficult to achieve comfort. We're seeing foot behaviour, which is indicative of nervousness and stress. And now we're seeing behaviour here where we're scratching the upper part of the leg. It's called lint picking. So we're seeing a cluster of 3 or more liked behaviours. So we can come to the conclusion that Nicole isn't as comfortable as the rest of the gang. Remember, we can't rely on singular gestures to give an indication of how someone feels at a present time. However, clusters of like movement are a lot more reliable.
I think you were traumatized by Dancing with the Stars.
So here we go.
You do not want to weigh in on any. You don't want to make anyone unhappy. If you could, you'd make everybody win this thing. Yes. Nicole decides to let it go to a debt that you pick Marcus. So that somebody else, could decide for you? Is that really why?
So America, it would be America's vote.
So America would decide.
Yes.
And America...
Okay, so what we've got now is the legs aren't bobbing about. So we've got now behavioural control. She might have then thought that her body language was coming off, that she was showing signs of nervousness and stress. So now she might be dealing with something called attempted behavioural control, where she's now controlling her body language because she knows that people are going to be looking at her and singling her behaviour out because it's different to what everybody else is doing.
Stupid America decided Marcus. We make the dumbest decisions, and we pick Marcus. Coincidentally, I think Rachel had an off night the night before, and that's what America voted on based on that off night.
Okay, so I'm going to show the video.
You didn't see it. Here's what it was worse than the travesty. Yeah, I agree with you. Let's take a look.
So this is what we're talking about.
Of this decision. Oh, I love it. Rachel Crow.
Okay, so she's just been evicted. However, let's just scoot back here and let's watch the reaction of Marcus on the right.
Look at the aftermath of this decision. Oh, I love it. Rachel Crow.
Okay, right here. That's a fantastic facial expression by Marcus. I'm leaning towards that's fear because we can see the whites of the eyes above the pupils there, and the eyebrows flash up almost instantaneously. So that's an indicative of fear. Obviously, the eyebrows rise with surprise as well, but that facial expression there to me is more fear than surprise. And then we can see the eye behaviour here with Rachel as well. Watch this.
Oh, I love it. Rachel Crow.
There we go, and the widening of the eyes when her name is mentioned. Let me just play that back in real time. Okay, so that's more surprise. Eye behaviour. And then, is this the behaviour of a 13-year-old? Okay. Okay, now this person's 13 years old. Obviously, you can see the so we can obviously the visual signs of stress leaking out with Nicole here, with the hands placed over the face and the eyes, so she wants to avoid eye contact with anybody, showing extreme stress. Okay, and Nicole's asking for her mommy when she's 13. So is this the kind of behaviour you'd want in an X Factor winner? This is one of the problems you see. I mean, this is some would argue that this level of behaviour for a 13-year-old is deeply mature, but I'll let you make that own judgment. And again, we can see this behaviour here that Nicole is showing here with the hands placed over the mouth. Again, this comes in with shock. And obviously with sadness as well. So again, this is more of a disbelief thing as well. Okay, and we can see before she goes behind that little caption there, her body language there. There we go. Okay, so she's making a partial arm barrier there, and the hands makes a slight adapter by placing it around there. And we often assume this position when we're uncomfortable in our surroundings or experiencing deep stress or anxiety. This is a classic giveaway of of upset, basically. And I'm sure you'll all recognise this particular expression here.
Anything you want to say? Nope. That was bad.
Okay.
That was...
Okay, so Paula reaches over to make the touch, which is an emotional embrace, which is good.
Television.
And she makes the embrace just by touching on. It's not recognised here by Nicole, but she would have felt that.
It was really, I couldn't believe it as I was watching it. And now, Paula, on TMZ, there was a video today in which it appeared that you encouraged Nicole to let it go to the deadlock. Is that true?
That's not how. That's how they interpret it.
Well, I definitely...
Okay, so that little bit there is a speech error. Know what she was going to say at the start.
Is that true?
That's not how.
That's not how.
That's not how. That's how they interpret it.
Well,
Okay, and that's how they interpret it. So what she was going to say then, we don't know. But then she corrected herself and talked about something else.
For the record. Yeah, well, we know what you
No,
did.
it's no, the thing is that I adore this girl, and I know what she was feeling like, and she turned. Well, you know, you can say what you want.
Okay, and that what Paula's doing here is the self-pacifying hug, which is in this gesture here. Okay, so she's imagining the stress of the situation, and that's why she's placing those hands in front of herself, just like that, you see. Okay, obviously we can see that Simon Cowell's not shifted from his original position when he sat down. However, in about a couple of seconds, I'm going to play a video where he moves into a more territorial ownership display. So he moves from this position here, and again, LA is favouring this position here by having one leg crossed over the other and making the arm display here by having the fingers and hands interlocked. It's a relatively good, confident display, a lot more confident than the stress that Nicole was showing at the start of the interview.
You know, it's crazy because
Okay, so let's just keep
in the
going.
moment and under pressure, you just kind of. It's not as easy to just be like, "Hey, this is what I'm going to do," and you're going home, and you have to say, "I'm sending you home," and you know, I own the decision that I made right then, and
Okay, so not a little heart touch there she made then. Watch that back again, a nice little
and
gesture.
you're going home, and you have to say, "I'm sending you home," and you know,
So I owned, and then a little hand touch towards the centre of the body, which is good. I like those kind of gestures.
The decision that I made right then, and you know, I'm really happy for Rachel because I think she has a deal with Disney now.
Okay, and she's just as surprised as anybody now with the eyebrows up. So she's talking about facially, she's looking like she's surprised.
And I'll be knocking on her. Yeah.
She is, so she's happy now.
She's
So it all worked.
Okay, and note that little interruption there by Simon, which has not gone down well with Nicole. Let's just watch that little segment again and watch her body language when Simon rudely interrupts.
Disney now, and I'll be knocking on her. Yeah.
She is, so she's happy now.
There we go. So she goes, Simon, very quietly.
So it all worked out.
Okay, and the head drops down now, the eyes shut, and the lips purse. So general disagreement there coming from Nicole silently, which is good.
The thing is that a week prior, I had the devil.
Okay, so Simon here is loving it.
The public was mad.
Uncomfortable, by the way.
The public was mad because I did let it go to deadlock.
Okay, right, so let's just pause it there. Let's just move on to the other section of the video, which is part 2. I'm just going to run this very briefly. So obviously Simon's seated in baseline position in this video, his arms crossed and legs wide, so making a crotch display, which comes in with high confidence. However, he now shifts his arm position,
Contestants specifically because you want to win this
and he
competition.
moves into this position here. Now, only the boss could sit like that, okay? If LA was sat like that, he wouldn't think twice about making that kind of gesture. It's a territorial ownership display, and he's showing the world and the audience that, in essence, these are all mine. So watch out for this kind of confident display here, where he's giving away that he's got ownership, not only because this is his show and he's the boss, but he owns these people. So he's giving the impression that he's superior than everybody else. So let's just scoot back there. So his original seated position there, Simon's position there, and he moves into an air of superiority with that little gesture there.
No.
Because Paul, is yours deserve to go. Both of yours deserve to go.
And there we go. So I'll end the interview there. So on the whole, this interview was actually really good. It was very humorous. There's excellent banter between the four of them. I still think Simon's got a very dry sense of humour, which I find particularly funny. And I think there's good rapport with all of them. So I'm very pleased the show is doing well in America. And I'm actually even more impressed with Jimmy Kimmel, because I've studied quite a few of his interviews he's done with the Twilight stars and Lady Gaga, and I find his interview style to be a bit silly. However, I'm quite impressed with him in this interview, actually, because he's the one who stands out for me. He seems to be getting better, Jimmy Kimmel, with these interviews. So I'm actually quite impressed with how the interview went, both for him and his audience as well. So there you go. So if you'd like to learn more about body language, then please check out my Understanding Body Language page on Facebook. Just type in Understanding Body Language, Liars, Cheats and Happy Feet. And if you'd like to check out the rest of my videos on YouTube, all you've got to do is just go and find my channel. Just click this video and then all my videos come up, and there you go. So if you want to check out my recent radio work I've done as well, that's me and the boss, my missus, check those out as well. Oh, and you can follow me on Twitter as well at Body Language UK. So there you go. So an excellent video there done there by the X Factor judges. Very impressed. Consummate professionals as always. And some excellent body language, some stress body language thrown into boot by Nicole. And I'm glad to say as the interview went on, her stress levels decreased and she came across fantastically. So well done, everybody on there. So there you go. So any questions or queries, please let me know. And I look forward to speaking to you all soon. So from everyone here, Understanding Body Language, have a very Merry Christmas, and I'll speak to you all soon.